Today, June 26th, SPL happened, and here's what. We ended the day with SK getting beat up by Obey. Hooray. But we started the day. Mouse beating up Dignitas. $18.99 home decor from Hobby Lobby, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. I just, that's my dude. What's up, bruh? You good? You chilling? Go check this out. I just showed him a picture of a bear. Let's fall down.
Born with glass bones and paper skin, 3 years ago today, this bear went through a trauma that you would never think you could get back on. I know I got to sit up here. Look, I got emotional real fast, but we still have them. They're still hanging out here on the desk. Hey, welcome to day 2 of the SCC playoffs. We've got our bear, and hopefully you can bear with us throughout the entire day here as we go forward. Look, as long as that thing's there, those are free and open puns.
You say so.
Well, at least I'm going to go for them either way. By the way, if you're wondering, so obviously tape to hold on the arms, the side says get well soon, and it is... I'm sorry, but look, 3 years hasn't done a whole lot over there. Either way, today we are going to be breaking into some very fun games, some elimination matches at that, as you can look forward to it. Yesterday, Elysium played Snake Hunters, Pandemonium played Accounting Department, and they moved forward in the winners bracket here in Europe. And that means Snake Hunters and Accounting Department are going to fight for the right to stay alive in the tournament as a whole here in Europe. And that's where things are going to get a little shakier. When you look at this history, Mifflin, it hasn't been a whole lot in favor of Snake Hunters. Accounting Department has been able to come through and win every single set.
2 sets played, 4-0. Not a single win for the Snake Hunters so far up against the Accounting Department. But it's not too late to break the curse. They've got another chance here today, but on the loser side of the bracket. Loser go home. That's tough. That's high stakes.
And the good news, if you're looking at it from a Snake Hunter's perspective, is the fact that the last loss was in week 6, right? So they're 7, 8, 9, 10, plus a couple of weeks off. Like, there's been meta shifts, item changes, so many things that have changed since you've last played this team. And so a lot of opportunities for you to really crack the shell and try to figure it out. Plus, your Snake Hunters, I feel like, well, no, Snake eats eggs. I don't know. I was trying to think of a way for Snake to eat Accounting Department, but I can't think of a way to do it.
But they hunt snakes. They're not snakes that hunt.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I thought they were like hunters that are snakes.
It's a misleading logo. Yeah. Why would you do that? It should be a dude. It should just be a guy.
It should just be a guy, like going out there. Either way, yeah, okay. Pause for a second. You know, in elementary school, like the weird day where they just bring like a guy brings snakes in. I don't know. That's really weird.
What?
Yeah, no. Did that not happen? Maybe that's a southern thing.
No, I never
don't know.
had snakes.
No, wait. You grew up. You were in the South too.
I was in Tennessee.
Maybe I just went to a weird high school. Either way, Snake Hunters here have a lot, like Mifflin said, to do in order to get here because they've lost 4 of the 4 games they played up against the Accounting Department. When you're looking at it, though, again, what they played yesterday, Kha'Zix looks really, really good in the solo lane. A lot of actually good plays against Elysium coming from the solo lane. But then you add in Pretty Prime, you add in Coast. Rapio didn't necessarily have a great game. I think he played Kali in that last game and never got to exist.
No.
But outside of that one, we really got to see this team showcase what they have, and they've looked better and better every single time.
And we cannot detract from their accomplishments. Able to take a singular game off of Elysium is in of itself incredibly impressive. These guys on the Elysium squad have been nigh unstoppable. But maybe we've got a little bit of a glimpse of it. Snake Hunters were able to make them bleed. You got to think that they're feeling a little bit confident coming off of that one. This guy out of mid in particular, Pretty Prime, has a phenomenal performance in that last set. Finds first blood onto adapting 2 games in a row.
I mean, being able to, first off, get first blood adapting is amazing
huge.
in and of itself. That's something that you put on your resume for Smite. Like, you keep that forever.
I killed that guy.
Even if it happens, like, if you get a 1v1, Katie still holds on to this. She 1v1 Zapman in the Medusa PTS, and she got the solo kill.
Your
and
wife
she's like,
soloed Zapman.
And she's like, it was busted. She's busted. This isn't fair. And he goes, hey, you got the 1v1. Like, that's all that matters, and that's all that matters here for Snake Hunters. They're able to put up a good performance, like you said yesterday, up against Elysium, a team that has been very difficult. I think literally only one team has ever given them a loss, let alone being able to take them to 3 maps. So it'll be interesting to see how they can handle them today, because accounting department is a different beast for them to tackle. Again, at least when they were going up against Elysium, for some reason they always went to 3 games. Accounting department hasn't been the same story, Mifflin. It's always been 2-0s, and it's always been this team coming out on top.
The OG rival squad has had a couple of struggles throughout the season so far, but there have been glimpses of greatness, in particular around their soul laner. Deathwalker's been having a great performance, was going by the name Streamline earlier this year, has finally picked up that OG moniker inside of Deathwalker, and has been running the lane with gods like Osiris, Kakulin, and just really been making his presence known, occasionally even going towards things like the Ratatasker as well. And I really do also want to highlight their jungler. Ice has been having a great performance inside of this one so far. Keep your eyes on these guys. I know they've been struggling. They haven't really been able to hit the ground running, but I really do think they can surprise us today.
And now you can look at this first off, this Pandemonium draft. King Arthur, Gilgamesh, Tiamat, Sobek, plus Danzaburo. And I'm sure what you're thinking is how, why, how, when, where, why, what, how, all of them, everything. And we were talking to it because Alpha Jackal, for those of you that don't know, is the coach for accounting department. And I'm gonna say the Johns that he threw out was realistic. He wasn't there for that set. He was still working, and so he wasn't able to really be impactful there for the picks and bans. But I know he's going to be there for this one, so that's going to make things a little more interesting for him. In fact, we'll see exactly how it shakes out here. And if any team gets a draft like what we saw yesterday, while against accounting department, either they have a lot to prove, or it's a game 1. That's the only time that I can really approve something like that happening, even though they got a lot of their power picks.
Fans at home, if you want someone to blame if accounting department does come away with a weaker draft, again, that is Alpha Jackal, their coach, who said that he is the only reason they got outdrafted yesterday. You could find him on Twitter, you could find him on Twitch,
I don't know that he said
and on the amateur casting team if you want to make fun of him. But so far, so good inside of the bans. Gilgamesh, Kakulin already taken off the table, as is Tiamat and Osiris. A couple targeted bans from both teams.
I actually really like the Osiris, specifically because, like, Deathwalker, this has been, like, his go-to, right? Like, I mean, he has been picking that up almost instantly whenever given the option. I think they've even first picked it a few times. I'd have to go and double check on that one, but it is something that has been very strong for them in the solo lane, to the point where he has avoided sometimes these meta picks, but now going for the King Arthur first pick, someone that was kind of missing for, what, half the day, if not more, yesterday.
Yeah, we got to see him in maybe one of the European games during their sets, and finally now Alpha Jackal, the coach, comes on and says, hey guys, King Arthur is still incredibly strong with Bluestone in Season 8. You just have more abilities, great poke potential, might as well get that pick for yourselves. But it does open up the door for Snake Hunters to go for a draft that we've been seeing a little bit more so here in Season 8. This Fafnir plus Soul, and then get a Hunter for yourself as well. It's just that auto attack shred is so strong, not only on objectives, but single target damage on enemy gods, as well as neutral objectives. Gold Fury and Fire Giant does not last long against compositions like what Snake Hunters is shaping up to.
I mean, this is, so Fafnir, Coerce, already great at shredding things. You add Soul in there, okay, cool. She might as well be a Hunter in terms of playstyle with the way her autos work, and of course her abilities really kind of help facilitate that. Then you add in what I'm going to assume is another Hunter at some point. Soul's been going mid more often than not lately, and that doubles down on that style of play. Ratatosker, I think, fits into this very well. It's going to be an attack heavy composition, so like any attack speed slows that can come to your mind, at least to me, immediately start to pop off, because that feels like it's going to be very helpful throughout this game. But you get King Arthur, Scylla on her. I mean, there's a point this year, week 3 of the SBL, that's the best draft that you could have ever gotten.
It's incredibly strong still. You've got great objective secure with I'm a Monster. Your damage output is still incredibly strong. On her's ultimate does eat a nerf in the last couple of weeks. It has about 90 seconds on the cooldown. Used to be around 70. So it is going to be a little bit weaker, a little bit less consistent, but still has the ability to make sure that those early objectives go their way. But another spicy pick, Jormungandr on the right side, and now Naja on the left. These are some very flavorful drafts.
Now, what I really like, specifically seeing Jormungandr come through, is that, and this was like the big talking point for him last year and prior to that, he doesn't necessarily like win his lane, but he's not going to lose it. Like King Arthur, good luck. You're not going to be able to take him up into the air. You're not going to be able to do it too much to him at all in the lane. And so it's going to keep things very balanced. But you close it out, Naja, Xingqian. Looking at it, it feels like Scylla and Anher have a lot of weight on their shoulders to perform for this game. If they do not have even a halfway performance here, it feels like a lot of the pressure from accounting department's going to kind of be missing because that's where all the setup is.
Yeah, they pick the Windfire wheels almost exclusively to set up for the I'm a Monster. The long lane for this team is going to be incredibly potent and aggressive throughout the early between Xingqian and Anher. And King Arthur is strong enough that you can leave him alone on that island inside of Solo, which means that you don't have to really put any of your resources towards that side of the map. Accounting department are hedging their bets on the center to left-hand side.
On Snake Hunters, again, this Ratatosker treated them pretty well yesterday, so we'll have to see how it can go for today. But Fafnir, Soul, you get the Medusa in there. Like, everything outside of this Jormungandr has been relatively normal as of late and has been looking pretty good. Add in Jorm at least being a pretty dominant force, it feels like things are going to be difficult to overcome. But we'll have to figure that out for accounting department. They've won every single matchup. Can they do it again?
This is a very important one. We are officially in the knockout stages. Accounting department up against the Snake Hunters here. And my name is Dolson. Taco's with me. Doug, of course, working the cameras. Taco, great to have you here with me on the cast to start off this fine Saturday of Smite action. And what a way to start it off. We finally get a Jormungandr back over there in the solo lane.
It's been a while since we've seen a Jormungandr, and been a while, Dolson, since I've gotten to spend some time here with you on the cast itself. Feels good to be back, man.
Oh, yeah, it does. Look, you and I are going to be chilling all day tomorrow at the studio. We're going to be kicking it at the desk, so might as well get in a cast or two while we can here. Look, between accounting department and Snake Hunters, the pressure has got to be at an all-time high now between these two teams. Accounting department probably comes in with a little extra pressure on this one, just given their history as players, so you hope that you're able to find yourselves a win over the Snake Hunters here. And I think it's going to be an interesting combo, this Naja paired up with this Scylla. Probably a little extra pressure on Ice and Wolfie to make that combo work.
Maybe a slight edge for the accounting department and experience as Kha'Zix might find some trouble here with the Jormungandr. He's going to get taken down for first blood already. Deathwalker making his mark. And that's a tough one for the Snake Hunters.
Yeah, it's a fantastic start for the accounting department here, especially right when it's King Arthur. You don't want to give King Arthur any sort of lead, but now you've given him first blood on over there. Ice off to a great start as well. There is some pressure pushing in against Kalas over here in the duo lane. You got to be careful now if you're the Xingqian. So we'll have to keep our eyes on solo lane, see if Deathwalker's able to push that lead on King Arthur any further. But over here in the duo lane, could see some action there. Already some early pressure for the Snake Hunters.
And that might actually be a worst-case scenario here for Kha'Zix. Snake Hunters, though, looking to try and answer back. Okeana's going to find himself in a spot of trouble. An immediate jump out, though, for the disengage. And this duo lane, a smart response, though, from Snake Hunters, kind of necessary when your solo laner's already taken the early fall. You've got to distribute the pressure equally.
Is that pretty much expected, though? I mean, you look at this duo lane matchup that we got here, Fafnir, Medusa up against Xingqian and the Anher. Do you expect that much pressure to be pushing in against the accounting department when the lane is built the way it is?
Fafnir is almost certainly a death to every ADC on the board right now, Dolson. And for Okeanos, he's going to really have to be mindful of that Fafnir-Sunder combination. That was really just silence trying to let him know, hey, maybe you should reconsider stepping up here in this duo lane.
Yeah, a lot of supports like doing this, especially on Fafnir. You grab upgraded Sunder right out of base. You don't get the tier 1 boots, but you're still able to get that starred item start. So, for the next 84 or so seconds, the accounting department can probably breathe a little bit easier while Silenced has that active on cooldown here. Rapio attempting to grab that blue buff, able to secure it, but you can sense pressure in from Deathwalker as Kalas eats a little bit more damage here as well. And the Snake Hunters will have to look to collapse on their own purple buff here. Ice is around the corner. Silence, Vaporish Coast into contest. Sash connects on a Coast. There's the up-down from accounting department. The follow-up is in, but Vaporish Coast able to dash away. Silenced does as well. As the purple buff invade potentially gone wrong as Pretty Prime rotates in. Ice is all out on his own here. It's got to be a kill, and it's Pretty Prime who strikes pay dirt.
The execution needed to be clean there from the accounting department. If Ice is going to invest time for that purple buff rotation, he's got to make sure that there is some form of a follow-up. But just not enough damage between that Xing 10 and the Honor to actually give a strong response. And now Rapio looking to do the same up against the accounting department.
Yeah, same play, but on the other side, and this one is clean for Snake Hunters. They grab the kill onto Kalas, they grab the purple buff, and they'll back away. So now the Snake Hunters able to grab some pressure over here on the left-hand side of the map. Pretty prime in mid on the Soul, getting a kill in that engagement as well. Now Rapio immediately up into the air. Wolfie's low, so could be some damage from Rapio. Had to be a dash away, and the stun just to secure the safety there. But talk about jungle pressure. I mean, this is what you want to see on a Ratatoskr. I'll invade purple and then rotate on over to mid.
The fact that Rapio doesn't even have a whole lot of mana to work with could be
God.
him biting off a little bit more than he could chew. Windfire wheels, and we know this one ends Dolson. Rapio gonna land into his own death. A little bit too greedy on those right side mid harpies. Should have probably just forfeited the buff pressure there, given the fact that he had absolutely no mana for any sort of a response. Even at half HP, Ice Ice is still gonna be a pretty big threat on that Neja.
Man, we haven't gotten a chance to breathe, have we? 4.5 minutes in here, 4 kills on the board already. Plenty of action on the left. Seen some over on the right-hand side here as well. Both of these junglers seems like have been absolutely all over the place in the onset of this game. Blue buff invade being looked at now. Deathwalker still small advantage with that first blood, but silenced is here on the Fafnir. Upgraded Sunder off of cooldown. And it looks like it'll just be the blue buff invade and away for the accounting department. Still finding some pressure over this Jormungandr.
But the problem, Dave, is that was really a blue buff invade that didn't need to happen. Rapio getting caught out of those right mid harpies. This is where the trickle-down effect of map pressure starts to really take place. And it's unfortunate as well because Snake Hunters did such a great job diverting the attention from that solo lane early kill that Deathwalker got by putting some pressure into the dual lane on purple buff, and to kind of spoil it just for a little bit of greed on right mid harpies just leaves a little of a sour taste. But it's certainly not all doom and gloom. I mean, there's definitely a chance for a bounce back here. It's hardly anything of a gold lead, if even an experience lead at that.
Right, we're 300 or so gold in the lead for the accounting department right now. It's kind of this next wave of buffs that I'm interested in seeing how the Snake Hunters are going to play it. Purple buff off of cooldown for the accounting department here. Kalas and Okeanos are in. So this one a bit telegraphed. Accounting department know that the Snake Hunters are here. Maybe all Kalas can do is attempt sort of a counter steal here, but Rapio's going to get in, drop down that purple buff, and the Snake Hunters will back themselves away. A bit of a chase here. Could be a rotation in from the mid lane, but Snake Hunters happy to grab this purple buff and back off.
Silence might need to be careful here, hovering this left mid-side harpy, although good vision for the Snake Hunters right now to kind of get a good idea of where the accounting department are trying to move around. It's mostly been mid-harpy control from the experienced team of this old rival squad. And the thing here as well, Dolson, is that this is kind of what I think I was expecting to see from these two teams. It's experience versus ambition. And granted, Pretty Prime's got a lot of veteranship as well with his competitive time, but this is definitely a strong start for both of these teams.
No, I think both teams will be happy with the way that this game started. I mean, the fact that you haven't fumbled anything away with how chaotic the onset of this game was is definitely going to be a bit of a boon to your confidence. Deathwalker attempting a solo blue buff invade there. Not much of an attempt, just poking his head on in. Is silenced, makes his way on over towards the right. Have to be careful. That upgraded Sunder still off of cooldown. Potentially enough damage in there to grab a kill on a Deathwalker, but the King Arthur will stand strong here. Red buff rotated on over by Rapio and Pretty Prime here. Things have quieted down since the first few minutes of this game. Looks like the Ratatoskr, the Naja, happy just to get their feet back under them after what was a chaotic first few minutes.
It's going to be a lot more difficult for the Snake Hunters to be as outright aggressive, given the fact that there is so much initiation potential from the accounting department. I think the right idea here for the Snake Hunters is just to keep looking for those counters as opposed to being the runner-ups here, Dolson. And Ice Ice as well with the blink on the Neja, Deathwalker with the blink on the King Arthur. You have to expect that there's probably going to start being a lot of mid-pressure soon to come.
Right, and that's where your eyes then start to shift just shy of the mid lane on over towards the Greater Scorpion, Gold Fury then shortly after that. Purple buff back off of cooldown again from the accounting department, but it's silenced all on his own. He'll transform as Wolfie will have to use the Sentinels to get out and away. Whirlwind of Rage and Steel pulls Silence right back into the fray, but the leap is enough to survive. This time Rapio up onto the branch looking for the drop down. Maybe it's Kalas, maybe it's Ice Ice, and it's Kalas this time with the stun, no good. And the accounting department lives on.
a couple of wits from both directions, but it seems as though both squads are going to be able to escape intact at the very least. Oracles, actually, Pretty Prime might have found himself in a spot of trouble. Purification beads are going to have to be expended, but the damage is too much. Collis will end up falling to that Stellar Burst, and Ice could be next.
Oh, there's a pillar up. Petrify flies out from Vaporish Coast here, and that'll force Ice to back away for the time being. Silence is quite low. Ice is as well. Ice still had his ultimate at the end of that one, maybe waiting out the beads of Pretty Prime, who was able to turn around some damage. And that's pretty big, isn't it? Where if you get a 1-for-none trade there, if you're accounting department, especially on the Pretty Prime, you're feeling good about yourself. But the fact that one of those kills gets turned around has got to be a bit of a boost of confidence now for the Snake Hunters. Pretty Prime able to finish up that spear. The Magus got the power boots online as well. So this Soul's starting to get to the point where some of that damage is really going to connect.
Pretty Prime managing to find something out of nothing there, Dulcin, because in all honesty, Collis maybe a bit over-aggressive, might not have necessarily needed to put himself in that position. Ice probably would have been able to seal the deal on his own. However, have to appreciate what is clear communication between this accounting department squad to try and at least collapse onto Pretty Prime, punish him for being so far out of position away from his team after that initial disengage by the Snake Hunters off the purple buff invade.
It's pretty good now to take stock. This game has slowed down a little bit as it had over the first few minutes of this game. Still just around that 500 gold lead for accounting department, so nothing totally crazy, unsurmountable now for the Snake Hunters. Big difference, though, is in that jungle. Rapio's been able to farm up pretty consistently on a good basis now, finds himself 2 levels ahead of what Ice is over there on that Naja. Stacking up that Transcendence as well. So this Ratatosker, you talk about some of that burst damage that's going to come down from the ultimate and then the follow-up. Something that the accounting department has to be considerate of over the next few minutes. That ultimate can really start to snowball some engagements and maybe some gameplay here for the Snake Hunters.
And Rapio not even fully stacked just yet with that Transcendence, but given the recent buff to Transcendence, it's not really a surprise to see it coming out as a viable option now for the Ratatosker. Could probably expect a decent amount of ability-based assassins to try and utilize this Transcendence more often, especially given that it has the 10% cooldown reduction, so that's always ideal for that Through the Cosmos semi-global. It has a lot of displacement and can put a lot of pressure onto Wolfie, especially anytime he's looking for that follow-up opportunity from Ice's ultimate.
This is interesting, and I'm going to wait and see what happens to Ice here before I get into this, because it's a stun that connects, and look at the damage from the Sunder, my god! Ice not allowed to participate. Alley blinks right into the ultimate from Rapio, who finds the drop. And now Ice in the dirt for 24 seconds. What a read there from the Snake Hunters. Some serious burst damage coming out of from Rapio and Silence.
Rapio playing that as perfectly as he possibly could. Okeanos, though, in a spot of trouble here. He's going to get pressure now by the Ratatosker, and a beautiful dive rotation out of Rapio, just further expanding on this lead over Ice. It is by far Ice's worst case scenario here, Dulcin, because that is a clear 2-level lead now for the Ratatosker. He's probably going to be the primary conductor of the rest of the Snake Hunters map aggression, and it's largely just the situation for Ice. He has the blink, but it's telegraphed when he's going to try and use it. Rapio beautifully reading that outplay and just putting Ice so much further behind. It is going to make it really difficult for this Neja to even be able to look for that initial blink pressure off the Windfire wheels.
It is pretty nice, isn't it, when you and I, we kind of set a storyline, then it literally comes to fruition just a couple minutes later. We're like, look, this Ratatosker is going to be driving the pressure, and then Rapio makes some big plays there, along with Silence, that upgraded Sunder, still connecting the health bar of Ice. Before my eyes was missing, and then Rapio able to make a big play on it. So that's the largest swing of kills and an advantage we've seen without being answered back by one side or another. The downside is the accounting department has a steady 2-level lead over in the solo lane. Deathwalker has not fumbled the lead that he got early on in this game. And it's an interesting build path here from Kha'Zix, isn't it? He went with a mask start into the power boots, now has Chronos Pendant as well as Tainted Steel on this Jormungandr. Granted, I haven't seen a lot of Jorm Taco, but when I have seen it, that's not usually the build I see.
Kha'Zix has one mission here, Dulcin, with that build, and it is to just apply pressure to the backline. And with the Jormungandr, Ratatosker, both of those ultimates are just going to be so fantastic for displacing Wolfie and Okeanos. They're going to have to really be on their toes, trying to peel out and play together, but not too close together, because you have to remember, World Serpent through the Cosmos, they're ultimates that can't really be stopped given the positioning that you're able to kind of leverage over the competition. And that is a little bit terrifying, even with Kha'Zix not being on the same level. Hold that thought, though.
Whoa!
Pretty Prime trying to take out Ice, and Silence going to get the killing below, but the damage, Dulcin, this is unreal.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Silence sets up another one, and Pretty Prime is there to knock down the pins. Now Rapio will use the ultimate just to invade in onto this red buff. It is a play that's been drawn up and executed perfectly a few times now by the Snake Hunters, as World Serpent will get used here by Kha'Zix, but that's going to pull the accounting department over towards the right-hand side of the map. That means this Gold Fury goes for free over to the Snake Hunters, biggest lead of the game so far, 2.1k gold.
For how often Callis plays Fafnir, Dulcin, it's a little bit surprising to see this accounting department squad choose to just walk away from the gold pressure side of the map. You cannot afford to leave, especially a Soul and a Medusa. That is some insane objective shred, even without the Fafnir being combined. And Rapio as well, making it obvious that they had numbers in that left side jungle. It's just kind of shocking to see the misjudgment there from the accounting department to try and focus out Kha'Zix, who still has his ultimate available to get out for free.
Yeah, Snake Hunters definitely get away with one there. Maybe there's an opportunity for a kill onto Kha'Zix, but with World Serpent, it's so hard to close that gap. Silence eats a full rotation outside of the I'm a Monster from Wolfie and is above half HP, so I think that's a pretty good kind of heat check for Silence and how much damage he's going to be able to take if he has to face check enough of that damage on over from Wolfie. Wolfie's had a quiet game up to this point here so far, 1-0-0 so far on this Scylla, has the Rod of Tahuti completed, then it looks like maybe a Soul Gem on the back end of that. So there is still this opportunity. This game is still very close, given how small the gold lead is. But you always got to be careful for that individual performance on something like this Scylla, especially now that Wolfie's starting to get some of that power online.
And a lot of this is really going to weigh on Wolfie, Dulcin, because he's probably the best objective contestant that accounting department are going to be able to offer here. Callis, however, could be in a little bit of trouble. Pyromancer will go the way of accounting department. Blink forced to come out, but a missed ring toss means that the chase will continue. Rapio now leading with that through the Cosmos. He might try to apply some pressure into the mid lane.
Rapio will dunk down. Callis charges up the ultimate to keep himself out of the air, and Rapio backs away now. Kha'Zix will use his ultimate. Look at the damage coming through from Vaporish Coast onto the backside. Medusa uses the Aegis to avoid so much damage there. Kha'Zix got one more charge of that ultimate, and out he'll go. Everyone from the accounting department survives. Rapio limps away from this one as well, but able to make his way to the right-hand side of the map, find some pressure there. So no one dead in that engagement. Snake Hunters, though, still the ones trying to apply that pressure.
And these towers might just be the MVP right now for accounting department. That fight a little bit too split for the Snake Hunters to really feel comfortable fully diving into the T2. That was hitting largely harder than the T1 towers there, Dulcin. But the message is still clear here from Snake Hunters, and that's that they're not afraid at this point to try and get up in the face of accounting department. They are looking to put the pressure, especially onto Ice, and silver lining for Ice, he is level 13 now, has finally managed to acquire some purification beads, but at what cost when there's already a 4-level gap between these two junglers?
I haven't even realized that. I haven't looked down at the item or the level screen in a minute. That has gotten ridiculous. Rapio, the widest gap here in this game on this Ratatoskr at 2-1 and 2, so it's not like the kills are absolutely out of control, just the farm and the engage. Rapio's just been a part of seemingly everything for the Snake Hunters team. Ice will get left on here by Silence, who has that upgraded Sunder. We've already seen the burst damage now on a few occasions. Silence will transform here. Not sure if engage or disengage. Pretty Prime drops the ultimate down as well. But the accounting department avoids most of what the Snake Hunters were throwing out there. So a small win, small advantage now as Silence has to de-transform. 2 ultimates down for the next minute or so.
2 burned ults for the price of none, but at the same time, Dulcin, there's really nothing on the map for accounting department to try and utilize those expended ultimates in their favor. In fact, Rapio could get caught out here, will trade out his ultimate for Callis's, and without any immediate follow-up, Rapio going to take the tactical decision of just staying near his T1 tower. There's no necessity now for Rapio to force. When you have such a commanding lead over your role opposition, you don't really need to put yourself that far out of position. I like that he's playing it safe, especially given that his purification beads are going to be back up, so he can still look to play aggressive with just the blink alone.
Yeah, it is a small advantage, though, that the ultimate is down, so the accounting department at least don't have to worry about the Through the Cosmos for a little while, but the blink definitely an engage tool for Rapio. Kha'Zix has continued on his full damage build here, gone Divine Ruin now, so anti-heal, the name of the game, potentially an E-staff now that he's built up onto that Fortified Scepter. And just a moment ago, we saw some of the chunk damage connect over onto Deathwalker, that anti-heal definitely playing a role. And I can't believe it, but it's something we're going to have to be wary of as this game goes on. Plenty of magical damage flying through, but then you got damage from Rapio, physical damage from Rapio, Vaporished Coast as well. This is going to be a serious juggle of defense, I feel like, for accounting department, because you got both types of damage swinging at you from pretty much every lane in the game.
But Girdle has been popped now. Snake Hunters, they're looking to take out this Primal Fury in the same fashion as they did the first Gold Fury. Okeano's already going to use that Desert Fury, finds no one, but Rapio on the backside now going to eat an impale into the wall. Okeano's, though, might be toast.
And it's Vaporished Coast finding the opening kill in this one on to Okeanos. Rapio looking for somebody from the accounting department that's just a bit overextended here as the Primal Fury is engaged back on. Rapio down into the backline. Wolfie down low, and it's Pretty Prime who finds the executed double from Vaporished Coast. Rapio waiting on that dash cooldown, would likely have enough damage, but won't choose to dive that tier 2 tower. Primal Fury ends up falling down, and it's Snake Hunters with a big swing here 20 minutes in.
And there's just nothing left for Deathwalker to do. Wasn't able to make the rotation in time before the fight even started. And to be fair, Dolson, that wasn't much of a fight as much as it was just an immediate collapse there from Snake Hunters, one by one, executing the members of the accounting department. And with 3 members of accounting department still waiting for that respawn, this Fire Giant is looking as free as ever. Doubt that Callis or Deathwalker are going to have any sort of opportunity to try and intervene.
Man, it might require a steal to get the accounting department back into this game, but Callis won't even get the opportunity. Snake Hunters get FG, 20.5 minutes in. All 5 members have got it. And you've got some serious gold to go back and spend. I always call this kind of worst-case scenario where the gold lead gets to about 6, 7K at this point in the game, because Snake Hunters still have XP to build on. They're not at level 20 yet. They still have items to round up at the end of their builds there, so they can go back, get serious power spikes, and then siege up all of these towers that are still on the map.
At 21 minutes, 7K, 6K gold leads, they don't necessarily feel as impactful, but what is really the eyesore here for the accounting department is the experience disparity, Dolson, because they're not going to have much of a chance, if any, to try and withstand sort of defenses underneath their T2 towers. They're probably going to have to forfeit all T2 pressure, and if they take their chances on the Phoenix, granted, there's always a shot that Ice and Wolfie can combine to make some magic happen with their double ultimate combo. I'm just a little bit skeptical here because Snake Hunters are just so far out in front. It's going to be hard to stop Kha'Zix and Rapio from harassing that back line.
Well, it absolutely will. Rapio's kind of had rent-free living in the accounting department backline throughout all of this game. 0-2 for Okeanos. Wolfie's had a very quiet game at 1-1. Ice has really been the one catching the hands more often than not here from the Snake Hunters. We'll see what type of defense the accounting department choose to put up around this tier 2 tower. Given the state of this game, I imagine this is what we see a whole lot of. Callis walks forward. Callis eats 80% of his health and damage, and then the rest of the accounting department will back on away, and the Snake Hunters grab both towers in mid. Still got some towers over on right to work at. So you wonder if this is going to be one of those slower FG pushes just because of the state of the map. There's so many towers still left to grab. Maybe you have enough time for a Phoenix siege towards the end, but still enough towers left on the map that the Snake Hunters likely have their eyes on those.
One benefit for accounting department is that they did manage to at least shove out their ways before the Snake Hunters really got a chance to aggress, but Rapio's going to take his time on that solo hand side. No issues whatsoever dropping those towers, but in a 4v5 potential scenario, Snake Hunters looking to play it safe and just full disengage.
Oh, Deathwalker finds the double stun. Kha'Zix, remember, has got plenty of damage, but a little squishier on this Jormungandr as a result. I have to use the World Serpent as a bit of a disengage of his own. Rapio, in the meantime, has knocked down tier 1 and tier 2 over here on right. Only one member of accounting department going back at the moment. Rapio not going to siege up this Phoenix all on his own in all likelihood, and so he will steal away the speed buff and head on back to base. Silencers pick up the Emperor armor here, Taco, and that maybe gives the Snake Hunters a little extra push underneath some of these towers and Phoenixes.
It just seems like things are slightly lapsed between the accounting department. Deathwalker blinks in, finds a beautiful two-man stun, and there's no one there. It's almost as if the accounting department have the right idea, Dolson. The execution is just falling short of the mark every single time. And again, a lot of this does kind of funnel back to that early game where Ice largely getting abused for taking such an aggressive relic early on with the Neja into the Snake Hunters crowd control composition and getting adequately punished for it. And that kind of just gave the Snake Hunters in, because even with Deathwalker having a level lead, he hasn't really been able to do anything with it. And now everybody's level 20.
Yeah, you got 30 seconds left on this FG push now if you're the Snake Hunters. Sort of what I figured, where all the towers go down, you got one last chance at a tier 2 here, and then the Fire Giant will be up a minute after that. And that'll open up some of these Phoenixes to some siege. Kalas has been stepping forward, but have been unable to find anything. Time and time again, the health bar just disappears before Kalas has anything to say about it. Frenzy got popped there by Silence, but the pillar will go up from Okeanos, kind of slows down some of that aggression. So if nothing else, Taco, the accounting department at least showing up to some of these towers and pushing back.
A little bit too slow of a push there by the Snake Hunters. They have so much damage in burst, Dolson. I'm a little bit surprised that they didn't choose to take advantage of that midway that they had initially after taking the T2 tower when Fire Giant was still ticking on them as well. Just, I get playing safe over sorry, but when you have such a commanding lead, you might as well utilize it.
Right, you would think that, and you're going to be able to get the Primal Fury here, and then likely the Fire Giant here in the next minute or two will be the most comfortable objective for the Snake Hunters to start to look towards. Accounting department now 11,000 down after all those towers except for the tier 2 on left fall down. Is this the type of scenario, despite the gold discrepancy, the XP that's now at 14,000 in favor of the Snake Hunters, would you want to see the accounting department step up around this FG and try to contest it, or are you taking your chances underneath your Phoenixes?
The jungle fights have been so awkward for the accounting department thus far. It might be in their better interest to just forfeit this FG because it's not an enhanced Fire Giant by any means. And given that the accounting department only lost a couple of T2s, a couple of T1s after Snake Hunters were able to siege both the Primal Fury and the FG, that's not an awful trade out, especially when the primary goal here for the accounting department is just to delay, because Wolfie is level 20, but he's not full build. If this Scylla can manage to acquire a full 6 slot, and the same for Ice, there could be some trouble for the Snake Hunters on the horizon here, Dolson, because there's still a lot of burst potential from this accounting department squad, and more importantly, they've got experience and a lot of competitive experience to boot. And I almost feel as though that's what's causing the Snake Hunters to hesitate at times.
Look at this rotation back around the FG pit. Go the Snake Hunters. It's Deathwalker who eats the stun, eats the Sunder, and eats most of his health and damage. Rapio doesn't have the stun on the back end of that fight, so Deathwalker lives on, but up into the sky he goes. Vapor's Coast has found the first kill on Takalas. Okeanos dunked on by Rapio, who avoids the spear. The Aegis will get used by the Honor, but how much does he have to say about it? Nothing, as a double kill from Coast rolls through.
And Wolfie having to use that I'm a monster, as Deathwalker could potentially be in trouble, but too soon. Unfortunate that Deathwalker takes Rapio up into that King Arthur ultimate right as Wolfie was running out of time. Kalas, on the other hand, Ice, gonna have to Windfire and Wheels his way to safety, but Vaporish Coast, Rapio still on the hunt, and this Neja likely gonna be toast for it.
Not to blink away from Ice here, you wonder if it's worth using the blink at all in this moment. Maybe that gives you a chance to survive, but Ice will certainly die here, and it's Rapio who picks up the kill. Now it's the FG, started up by the Snake Hunters, and a surrender vote starts, and that might be the easiest way out now for the accounting department, because it's going to be Fire Giant on over to the Snake Hunters. Wolfie doesn't have the I'm a Monster for an attempted steal. Crush could be used, but will not be attempted, and so FG on over to the Snake Hunters. You got Ice down for 40 seconds. Time to siege up some of these Phoenixes.
And again, it seemed as though the accounting department wanted to possibly try and contest, but it just looked like a mixed decision from the team. The positioning of the carries was so spread out from the front line itself. There was no one really there to play backup for Deathwalker as he's trying to escape from the Sunder aggression. And now with the Frenzy Pop, Snake Hunters looking to take their first Phoenix of the game.
There's still no Ice for the next 10 seconds, so this is an easy siege on up for the Snake Hunters, who haven't even had to go back and heal up just yet. Rapio's half HP, silenced about half of his mana missing so far in this game. So right side Phoenix, does end up going down, so the accounting department are going to have to deal with that. But now, for the first time after this FG, the Snake Hunters are going to go back and spend up at least 1,500 gold from what I saw in everyone's back pockets. So Kha'Zix does end up completing the full damage Jormungandr build here. And Taco, it's been so unique where it hasn't been this flashy knockdown, drag-out game from the full damage Yorm, but it has made a difference in some of those damage charts. Near 13,000, near the top here, not only in the game, but on his team.
Kha'Zix just has such great range to harass Wolfie and Ice and Okeanos. Honestly, Dulcin, it's very difficult for Anasia, Scylla, and On Her to immediately escape some of that spit damage from Kha'Zix. And not only that, if they use their escapes, well, that just opens the doorway for that through the Cosmos to be all the more impactful. Same for Silence, even on the Fafnir, pretty decent range on that jump. A good stun as well. Just a lot of control from the Snake Hunters.
Could be in the death throes of this game if the accounting department unable to defend this left side Phoenix. Frenzy gets used, but how many times have we seen this? Kalas goes in, Kalas unable to find the engage, and Kalas has to leave. Now it's Rapio trying to close that gap, and he will. Wolfie down first, Kalas down second, Okeanos looking to be the third here as Rapio grabs the triple. Into the fountain he goes, and that'll be his death. 4 down for the accounting department, game 1. On over to the Snake Hunters.
Absolutely nothing left for Ice to do but watch or possibly die in team unison as the accounting department will fall to the Snake Hunters here, Dulcin, and immediately clean finish out of the Snake Hunter squad.
Yeah, it's a great game to start off this set for the Snake Hunters, and I think that establishes a little bit of momentum here, Taco, where you have a game like that where things are kind of contested for the first 4.5, 5, even on to 6, 7, 8 minutes, but then that Ratatosker just felt so consistent that the accounting department didn't really have an answer for it that entire game.
It was just the dual lane pressure application because even after that initial, Ice found a great punish against Rapio in the right mid Harpies into a blue invade for Deathwalker, but accounting department just never really able to utilize that solo side pressure. It all came down to the dual lane there and just fantastic control from the Snake Hunters on that side of the map.
Remember, this is a knockout game and it's a best of 3, so the accounting department already backs against the wall. One more game to stay alive here in the SCC Phase 1 playoffs. We'll get to that one right after this break.
Well, for the first time in the matchup of these two teams this year, Snake Hunters actually takes one. I mean, that has not happened. It's unprecedented. I had highlighted that it had been quite a few weeks, maybe 5+, since these two teams had actually been against each other. But the fact that they were able to find a win here is monumental for them. That means one more win, and they move forward in this bracket. It is do or die for Accounting Department. This is the bottom. This is the end of the world for you. If you lose this game, the run stops here, and you'll find yourselves going home. So that's a lot of pressure to maybe try and turn things around. Gormizer, alongside me once again, is going to be Mifflin. I don't think I actually introduced us in the first one. I just hope everybody knows who we were. I don't think I said the names. I was so focused on our bear friend who's hanging out with us for the day. And now we've gotten to see something not only, I want to say, monumental for Snake Hunters, but convincing at that.
Yeah, that was one of the fattest jungle diff games I think I've ever seen. At a certain point, we were looking at level 17 to level 12, a 5-level difference inside the jungle. This play in particular was nasty. Predicts the blink to find the dunk. Just a clean play from Rapio throughout the entirety of this match, and eventually he transitions his style. He doesn't play that assassin style towards the late game. He realized, all right, well, I'm 5 levels up over the opposition. I'm essentially just a tank now. Didn't go tanky in the build, just have the raw stats and able to do it, and acts as that initiator for his team. In Game 2, we're going to need to see more from Accounting Department's jungler.
Yeah, Ice, and look, this isn't the first time we've said this either. There are going to be points in this game where if you can catch it and look at him in the background, level 15 there, and I can assume Arapio, yeah, level 19, so still 4-level difference right there. And this is for a coast highlight that it's coming through. That's where things, I think, have been a big struggle for them. Accounting Department had that in the last couple of weeks of regular play as well. And granted, it usually would only happen for maybe one game and then be rectified, but that's definitely been a consistent struggle for them. Something that they're going to have to overcome, because otherwise Rapio is going to be having the time of his life. That was a very free jungle for them. 6-2-7 there for him. 5-0-6, a perfect game for the duo lane even for Snake Hunters. Silence going 2-0-9. I mean, their draft felt good, the play felt good, they matched exactly what they needed to. This is a team that wants to continue going forward.
Agreed, but there are things that Accounting Department can do to kind of alleviate some of these issues. We know that their plan in Game 1 was to play around the center and duo lane just from their draft. But their solo laner got off to a roaring start. Gory got first blood solo kill. Might as well play around your lead. Play around this King Arthur who's so dominant in the early, but at no point did they make an attempt to play around that solo lane. So play around your lead. They can try and shift up the bans a little bit. In the last set we saw Rapio. He was completely banned out. The Ratatasker was not allowed to be played even a single time. Seemed like a pretty good strategy. Might as well run that one back. There are things that they can do to shift things up.
That's going to be what's on the docket here for Accounting Department. Game 2 is a lot more stress, right? I mean, now you are in the point where if you lose this game, again, you are knocked out. And so they have to win right here, right now, in order to stay alive in the tournament. Picks and bans for game number 2. Accounting Department, once again, going to be this first pick team. And even though you, at least in my mind, that starts to scream, cool, that's going to be an advantage. It didn't help him too much last time around, and even with the King Arthur first pick, like something that I think is a very viable first pick, the rest of the draft maybe didn't match up to it. So Snake Hunters can kind of just run back what they did last time.
Yeah, Snake Hunters likely going to have to shift something up here. You got to hope Accounting Department's changing something up, and already sold the targeted ban here from Accounting Department, making sure Snake Hunters aren't able to run back that exact same draft. I like it so far. I mean, a small adaptation here can lead to more in the future. Accounting Department is still going to have that first pick. Could go back towards the King Arthur, which again had a very good start, or if they want to, they can use that first pick as a dedicated ban, take away that Ratatasker.
Well, that Kukulkan Gilgamesh ban staying the same throughout this. Yeah, Chiron was banned out last time as opposed to the Soul. And interesting enough, Snake Hunters actually take out the Fafnir here, something that was working pretty well for them. But Chiron makes it through. Now, I will give a lot of credit to him, and that is that we have seen Chiron handled. We've seen him handle people plenty of times, but we've also seen him taken care of, and so it'll be interesting to see how that goes, because yes, you get what is right now, at least feels like, the top pick Hunter, but Ratatosker and Yanis are, like, Ratatosker, like you just said, like, that's, Rapio's just going to be happy because he's running it back and he feels great. Yanis has been the mage of the last few weeks.
Of the entirety of the year,
yeah,
like,
really.
Doesn't it? I mean, Season 8 has been the season of Giannis, and now the Snake Hunters come away with their bread and butter draft. This is global presence through and through space and time. Going to be fantastic to maneuver the map, as is Up to the Cosmos from Ratatasker. They've just got great presence on the map. but now getting matched up ever so slightly by this Athena. Defender of Olympus should be able to alleviate some of those issues.
Now, I've given a lot of credit to the Olympus bolts because when Jake locks in this Ares, the first thing I think is, oh, that's so good. Like, you chains Yanis, you're in the mid 3v3, you stop him. But Ares and Athena, we've seen Athena jungle, we've seen Athena solo, we've seen her Athena support. Like, she's got the 3 roles. Is this just a flex pick? Like, is there a chance they send Ares? Like, I'm going to say this out loud because I know that Ice has done things similar to this, and I think maybe this exactly. Is this going to be an Ares jungle? Am I willing that into the existence? Because they've done it.
I sure hope not, man. I mean, Ares is already a double-edged sword. If you fall behind on Ares, there's just about no comeback mechanics. And with Ice having the performance that he did in Game 1, I don't want to put him on a volatile pick like that. But you're right to bring up Ares' potential, especially when we're talking about accounting department. It's not just Ice who's willing to play this god in an unorthodox role. It's also Deathwalker, who's very willing to take it out of the solo lane. He could still go into support, but with Athena getting picked up as well, there's just so many options on the board. And now even more global presence, double Hunter composition from accounting department. You gotta think it's Chiron mid.
Yeah.
Probably gonna be Athena solo. Ares support. That's I don't know, man. Naja? This is a weird draft.
It seems like a draft, at least in my mind. Like you were saying, hey, look at this global presence that exists. They ban out the Xingqian, Yamoja, Raijin, Merlin banned away by Snake Hunters just to keep up on those. But you get some global presence. Chernobog, Athena, able to traverse the entire map if necessary. Naja made things, Terra made things a little weird for you. Now there's the Ymir on the board.
Look, I gotta try. Guardians? I gotta try my best. This is the most Season 3 draft I've ever seen. Triple Guardian, double Hunter. This is OG Rival doing OG Rival things. It's gotta be Terra support, Ares, jungle, Athena solo. That's my guess. That's the best I could do here with Chiron out of mid and Chernobog coming out of the duo lane. And it's such an unorthodox draft. It's so new. It's so very nuanced that if we're guessing here on the desk, the fans are guessing at home, that means the Snake Hunters are guessing as well. Makes it very hard to plan around.
And I'm going to give it a lot of credit because I think Ares, I put Ares in the jungle here mainly because then he is 90% of the time within a range of Yanis. Then never is there a chance where he just gets to farm and get out of there. There's always that threat. But you had the Ymir. I mean, look, you cover up the left-hand side of the screen and all of a sudden that right-hand side is just a great draft. Like Heimdall, Wukong, even though they're maybe not the top of the tier list as of late, were some of the top picks for solo and Hunter for most of Season 8.
And not just that, this Ymir pick has great matchups into almost the entirety of accounting department. Chiron, Ares, Athena, even Chernobog, Terra, none of them can deal with that wall. No traditional leaps on the accounting department side of the map. That's going to be very tough. These jungle fights going to favor Snake Hunters.
Well, they give us a little weird, and they need that strange in order to win this game. Otherwise, accounting department go home. So let's find out in Game 2 if they can do it.
Mifflin, I love you, buddy, but you're completely wrong on every single one of your guesses here. Deathwalker is playing Terra solo, Ice Athena jungle, Kalas on Ares support, with the mask start in here as well. What a unique draft, Taco, for accounting department in a must-win game. You have to win this game to avoid going home, and this is the draft you bring.
Yeah, nice try, idiot Mifflin, as if that was ever gonna work. No, in all honesty, Dulce, this is pretty crazy from the accounting department. The triple guardian front line. Don't get me wrong, that is brutal for any carry to try and deal with. But at the same time, you have to get these guardians up and off the ground and running first before they really become as potent. And Ice definitely struggled with the Neja, had the blink as that first relic as well, was appropriately punished by the Snake Hunters for it. They made sure to focus him out quite well, and it's really going to come down to how well Rapio, Pretty Prime, and Silence are going to be able to control this Athena to try and prevent the Snake Hunters or the accounting department from having that sideline pressure with the global.
Well, there's some concern then as well, about the Snake Hunters breaking through that front line. I think you're right to kind of point out Rapio and Pretty Prime here, and even Kha'Zix. You can kind of go up and over some of those Guardians to find that back line if the onset of the fight kind of lends itself to that. So we'll have to wait and see how some of these fights break out. I expect a lot of this, though, at Engage, but it's a beautiful portal from Pretty Prime onto Ice to delay any further engage. Both junglers basically walking away with the same amount of HP. So neither here nor there maybe in that initial mid lane engagement.
And something to keep in mind as well, Wolfie with the Chiron does have the training exercise for a cleanse that could potentially play a much bigger part here for Ice, having that lack of purification beads. On the other hand, dual lane pressure, despite the fact that Okeanos and Kalos are getting a good chance to poke out Ice Silence a bit, it's still Vaporish clearing this wave, no problem, putting this Chernobog and Ares on the back foot a little bit.
Yeah, you know, I'm always concerned when there's a Heimdall on the other team, just because I know what point that Heimdall will reach seemingly every single game, no matter what. It's just a bit of a ticking time bomb when that build is going to start to hurt just a little bit worse. Silence will throw up the wall. I wondered if Kalas would get caught out by this one, and he was. The freeze is in there as well. The damage almost enough, and the damage is enough. And Silenced and Vaporish Coast simply walk forward, and Kalas falls for first blood.
And for anybody who might be wondering, Ares versus Amir is a Smite Guardian matchup as old as the game itself by now, Dolson. And Amir largely usually tends to come out on top just because he has so much intervention for the Ares chains. Never going to get a solid opportunity with that Cripple Burst. Vaporish, though, a little baited out, but an immediate disengage with the Bifrost now leaves Silence in an awkward position, but with no one to follow up. Ice largely left just standing around, and the pressure still leaning for the Snake Hunters in duo.
Yeah, it could have been a serious swing if Vaporish Coast got that kill onto Okeanos, but Ice will blink in, won't find anything for it just yet. We'll have to go out and back away. Now, here's something unique outside of the draft that we've already seen here from the accounting department. Haven't seen Teleport as a relic picked up in a hot minute out of the solo lane. What do you think this tells you about Deathwalker's mentality? Is that just, I might get bullied here in this lane, I need a little time to get into it, and I just want to be in lane as often as possible?
It tells me that Deathwalker is Terra, and he has arguably no pressure against a Sun Wukong. He's going to keep getting pushed out into his T1 tower, so he's kind of forced. Excuse me. What is up with accounting department trying to make something happen on these right mid Harpies? But Snake Hunters, they just seem to laugh it off. They do not care at all about Ice and Wolfie, just nowhere near enough damage application to truly be a threat.
Yeah, wow. Wolfie and Kalas both used their ultimates there. Pretty Prime used his as well. But nothing comes of it there out of the mid lane. Rapio on this Ratatoskr put together an incredible performance in Game 1. Really got off the ground running. Made the lead what it was you felt like for the Snake Hunters there in Game number 1. The question then becomes, have the accounting department drafted or do they change their playstyle enough in a way that prevents this Ratatoskr from getting loose in the way it did in Game number 1? Oh, it's a beautiful stunt from Deathwalker on the back end. And up into the Somersault Cloud will go Kha'Zix, so the Sun Wukong will survive. Deathwalker used his ultimate there, and there was nearly enough damage, but Kha'Zix able to walk away.
Could potentially be a counter initiation, though, from the Snake Hunters. Kha'Zix knows that they're still looking for more. He's going to bull form through, manage to survive the time being. It's going to be Ice taken out by through the Cosmos. Deathwalker now diving the tower to make sure that there is something in response, but Kha'Zix largely making it happen here, Dolson.
This is brutal. Rapio will dodge out the wall from Deathwalker. Wolfie's rotating on over from mid here as well. Now Rapio's going to have to use those cooldowns and that last bit of mana, last bit of HP to get out and survive. Wolfie looking for the tier 1 tower dive. It's because Ice has used the Athena ultimate. Rapio out of range of the tower, and Ice back in range of the damage. Rapio, I don't know if you can call that an overstay. That's just a gap close from the accounting department, and Rapio ends up falling.
One of the many perks of Athena is having that global ultimate, Dolson, and Rapio probably should have known better to immediately leave the scene after what ended up being a pretty favorable exchange. Ice, on the other hand, though, could get caught out now. Blink will be used yet again to escape the through space and time, and a little bit awkward here for the Snake Hunters. That through space and time might have been a bit better earlier on to try and help the likes of Rapio. But Pretty Prime, a little bit more prioritized with the farm in general.
Wow, Ice has just not left this right-hand side of the map in the last couple of minutes. Blue buff invade, if you call it an invade, was successful, so Kha'Zix won't be able to go back and pick up the blue buff. Not just yet. Been quiet from Kalas so far here in this game. 0-1 on the Ares after an early death early on. And the kind of buzz conversation around the Ares is, can the Ares burn enough beads with his ultimate, or can enough beads be burnt on the other side? Do you have some confidence, Taco, in the ability for this accounting department team to get some of those beads off the table to allow Kalas to find those engages a little more consistently?
I would actually like to see Kalas be a little bit more aggressive with this Ares, because if he just allows the Snake Hunters to continue to farm for free, I just don't think that it's going to be very favorable for him, because you're super stationary in the no escape. Everybody knows exactly where you're going to be, and for the likes of a Heimdallr at that, Vaporish could definitely punish Kalas every time he's looking for a big chain ultimate. So it's going to be crucial that accounting department get a little bit more action rolling here, Dolson, because it doesn't seem like they have enough gas at the moment to really try and put Snake Hunters into an awkward position.
Well, the good news is, if, you know, we're talking about Deathwalker and some of the concern around this Terra getting off the ground. I'll hold that thought. It's a nice double freeze. It's a perfect wall. It's a perfect stun, and it's a perfect follow-up from the Snake Hunters. But no kills fly through just yet. Kha'Zix from range will grab the follow-up through space and time. Does not connect from Pretty Prime either. Kalas walking his way away. Deathwalker doing his best to usher them out, but look at the damage coming through from this Terra as the ultimate drops down, and it's a double kill from Deathwalker as Rapio trades back one.
Rapio actually going to have to
hold
fast here. Deathwalker is still looking for more, and Rapio realizes it on the back. Will escape the wall for the time being, but Deathwalker is off on a tear here now, Dulcet, and this is where that triple Guardian entourage could definitely be a lot more impactful now that the Terra is seemingly online with the damage.
All right, so it is a 4-0 Terra for the accounting department here. Admittedly, my knowledge, my data pool on a fed Terra out of the solo lane is pretty limited here. How big of a threat does that pose to the Snake Hunters over the next few minutes?
It's largely just going to come down to how well Deathwalker is able to continuously utilize that Terra ultimate. So much burst where you wouldn't expect it, Dolson. And a lot of this just largely being credited to the fact that Deathwalker has been so patient with his positioning and with his actual ability usage that he's managing to punish the Snake Hunter in fights that should arguably be a little bit more in their favor.
You would think that. Look, Kha'Zix now forced early Ankile on the Sun Wukong here, so you're touch concerned about Ice and Deathwalker and some of the magic damage they've poured into you. And Kha'Zix has to respond in kind with his build. It's been still some pressure from Rapio so far this game. 2-2-1, so has fallen for a few of his troubles. Silence might fall for his troubles here. Throws up the wall, but it's a collapse in from the accounting department, and Kalas will pick up the kill as well. So it's all of the Guardians grabbing the kills here. None of the carries for the accounting department. That said, kills are always going to be good. You're always going to be happy about it. This is a big 1v1 here. Vaporish Coast has his ultimate. Ice! Oh, he drops down with the Athena in order to block off the damage, but Okeanos dies nonetheless. Now Ice crashes back down to earth. The double taunt is there. Vaporish Coast dies, but now it's Rapio in on the follow-up. Kalas has gotten the kill on the Pretty Prime, and Ice will survive.
A great job by Wolfie and Kalas to punish Pretty Prime when he was looking for the rotation, and Vaporish too greedy for his own good. Had the outplay on Okeanos, could have disengaged that through space and time, instead cost him his life. Kalas, on the other hand, could be in a similar position. Kha'Zix trying to find the last hit, but Kalas managing to limp away, and he will lose the Somersault Cloud in the process. A great target focus there from Wolfie to ensure that his support stays alive.
Oh no! Oh, Kha'Zix survives! No, he doesn't, as Wolfie has the range, and down goes Kha'Zix once more. 1-3 for Kha'Zix out of this solo lane. Accounting department have not let off the gas since they found these advantages. And a moment ago, I'm thinking, all right, it's only Deathwalker who has all of these kills. Now, they're starting to get spread out just a little bit further. Wolfie's got 1 and 4 assists. Ice, couple kills, a few assists on the board. Kalas in that category there as well. It's only Okeanos who hasn't found the kill column just yet so far here in this game. Accounting department are playing this draft well here, Taco. The Snake Hunters have just not had an answer to it.
No, and this is exactly what the accounting department needed to make happen for that triple Guardian front line. to actually come to fruition, but trading out a Pyromancer for the Gold Fury, maybe not in Accounting Department's best interest. However, gold lead still in their favor, a couple thousand to their name over the Snake Hunters, but it's the experience gaps that are starting to take place largely between solo and mid that could pose a lot more future issues for the Snake Hunters.
Yeah, it's a 4-0 2-level lead for Deathwalker on Terra out of solo. Not something I thought I was going to be saying here this morning with you, Taco, but here we are. We've made it there nonetheless, and Deathwalker has put on an absolute clinic on this pick so far. Nearly 12 minutes into this game. Voidstone is to pick up on the backside of the Breastplate of Valor, so Deathwalker able to do some serious damage and able to clear out some waves potentially here as well. I wonder, this is a very, minute thing. I wonder if upgraded teleport later on in this game makes any sort of difference. You got Ice with the ultimate, you'll have Deathwalker with the teleport, Okeanos with the ult there as well, so the gap close potential certainly there. Kalas is looking for a chain here. Ice is looking for a taunt, and Ice has got a taunt. Deathwalker drops the ultimate in the mid lane, is through space and time, flies in. My man is doing it again! Deathwalker's got a double. Okeanos with the first, but Ice just a bit caught out here. Now the Snake Hunters have a second wind in this fight. They'll turn around one kill, the rest of the chase is in. But it looks like a 1-for-3 trade. Happy times for the Accounting Department.
But there's only so much that a lone ADC and solo laner can do, and with 3 members still yet to respond, this is looking like a T2 tower siege that's going to go the way of the Accounting Department. 4 relatively healthy members from Accounting Department still standing strong. Vapours, though, with the flank watch, actually going to try to aggress immediately into the backline, finds Wolfie, but Wolfie going to actually eat a tower shot with that giddy up forward. A nice home run out of Vapours just to buy himself some time, and the respawns are happening.
Coast! Oh, Coast is making a big play here. Now the Snake Hunters able to pull back 3. Incredible turnaround there from Kha'Zix and Vapourish Coast. Kha'Zix got a massive silence from the Ankylo earlier on in that fight, and then Vapourish Coast bides his time well and helps turn things around. That seems like a life raft in this game, doesn't it, Taco? Everything was for the Accounting Department. You get a big shutdown onto Deathwalker, who was 6-0, and look at that gold chart, look at the XP chart, still kind of scary in the XP department, but the Snake Hunters able to capitalize on a bit of an overstay from the Accounting Department.
And, to be fair, Dolson, in hindsight, that looked like as free as could be of a T2 tower and just another immediate expansion of a snowball lead that had started to take place there for the Accounting Department. But we all forgot about one crucial thing, and that's that it was 13 minutes into the game. Those respawn timers are a lot shorter than what you would think, and the clock was ticking. Vapourish just comes up huge with that flank play, and that's not something you would ever expect from the Heimdallr of all things, but possibly something a bit unique to this Heim, because he does have that Bifrost to get out at a much higher survivability rate than some other ADCs. So just a really well played out moment there for Vapourish that really brings his team back into this one.
Vapourish Coast, it feels like throughout the SCC so far this year, has just had those moments. The Snake Hunters team has not been without its struggles, but Vapourish Coast tends to show up in big moments for this team, and that's another one. Still not in control of the Snake Hunters, but definitely a little bit more even. Look at the gap close that Kha'Zix has now been able to find as well, and 1 level down on a Deathwalker will need every bit of that XP differential here. Another through space and time, just shy from Pretty Prime. Though to be fair, a lot of them are being used from range, from the mid lane, trying to connect to something over there on right. Haven't seen these big, bursty, point-blank Giannis ultimates just yet so far in this game, so that's a big moment I think we need to look out for as well.
And then again, Dolson, all you need is 1. If Pretty Prime gets even 1 through space and time that's able to rip through a team fight, it could spell trouble for the Accounting Department, especially if the target is going to be Ice, because he is relatively squishy with this Athena, has largely opted purely into the pressure or the damage department here with that Spear of Desolation, Pen Boots as well. So it could definitely be reasonable for the Snake Hunters to just try and immediately take this Athena out of the fight, but if they go for him, they have to make sure that they are clean with the execution, because if Ice gets an opportunity to global ult back in, that would be disastrous for the Snake Hunters.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. I agree with what your take is on Pretty Prime there. It just takes 1. Pretty Prime in desperate need of some farm here. He's lowest on the net worth charts, even below Kalas, the support over there for the Accounting Department. Just finished up the Soul Gem, has the Kronos Pendant, so there will be some burst damage coming out of the Giannis in some of these fights. But when you consider his counterpart is about 500, 600, 700 gold ahead of him, bit of a difference there forming out of the mid lane. Pyromancer started. Silence throws up the wall here, but the Snake Hunters not collapsing in all that quickly. Deathwalker stunned out. Through space and time, flies on through from Pretty Prime. Then the Snake Hunters grab the Pyro. It's a steal away from the Snake Hunters, but the fight after starting to look better for Accounting Department as Wolfie gets the ranged execute over onto Silence. Rapio might have a re-engage here, and it's in onto Wolfie, who dashes away to avoid the knockup at the perfect time. Ice in the backline grabs the kill onto Pretty Prime, and the Accounting Department continue to search for kills.
This just needs to be a running moment here for the Snake Hunters. They have got to get out. They already got the objective steal. That was a big enough play as is. Sacrifice your support if you have to. Pretty Prime, on the other hand, kind of just abandoned way deep in the back line. Ice getting to do whatever he wants here, and now Collis could be applying some pressure on the Rapion, but another Grand Slam out of Vaporish as the unsung hero.
Is it going to happen again?
Squad looks for a double kill on his own.
Is this gonna happen again? Vaporish Coast has already got one now. Rapio gets the other. It's these like second engagements that keep going so well for the Snake Hunters, and it's Vaporish Coast leading them all off. And look at the confidence now. The Snake Hunters immediately on over towards the FG. Kha'Zix tanking it up as Rapio and Vaporish Coast are half HP. Deathwalker 6, 1, and 2 rounds the corner here, and the reply from the Snake Hunters is to stand strong. We stand tall around the FG, and Deathwalker look for a stun here in just a moment. It's a blink on through. The ultimate drops down as Vaporish Coast uses EA, gets Fire Giant taken low here, and Fire Giant secured by the Snake Hunters. It's a beautiful portal from Pretty Prime to give the opportunity over to Snake Hunters.
A nice Bifrost as well from Vaporish Coast. Beautiful Aegis uses as well. And Snake Hunters get away with murder here, Dolson. They take 2 picks only from the Accounting Department and just catch them sleeping on that Fire Giant pool. Deathwalker, by the time he spots it out, there just wasn't anyone that was able to rotate quite as fast as him without Ice on the board. Just a really well-executed play out of Snake Hunters, but now the real trouble starts to unfold, and that's how effectively Snake Hunters can actually penetrate this Triple Guardian front line to look for some objective siege.
Right, you're fighting into those Triple Guardians now. They're not chasing you down and overstaying. You got to bring the fight to the Accounting Department if you're the Snake Hunters here. It's a similar Fire Giant to last game, very early on, sub 20 minutes, all 6 towers for the Accounting Department still on the map. So while gold just a bit in favor of Snake Hunters, this is where game 1 really spiraled out of control. It's when the Snake Hunters were able to knock down all of the towers with that early FG, but it's been a slow push here. The Accounting Department not sensing that they're out of this just yet, want to stand strong around these objectives. No Fury to be fought over either. So it's just about where the Snake Hunters choose to group up and if the Accounting Department are quick enough on the rotation back through, and for now it's the mid lane tier 1 that falls.
Accounting Department might be tunneling a little bit too hard here on Vaporish Coast. They thought that they could catch that Hi-Man on his own. Silence, though, going to get taunted in by Ice, but the damage application is heavily the way of Accounting Department. Silence is low, but not low enough. He's still alive, and Wolfie is toast.
Well, he's going to have to find a kill here, and he will not. Kha'Zix on a killing spree to pull back in from Kalas, but what a difference this fight looks like for the Snake Hunters. They are driving it from the onset. No overstay necessary. The Accounting Department lose both of their carries. Now it's the Guardians left alone, and it's the Guardians who will fall. Vaporish Coast notches his 3rd.
Could have been in a retreat back to the mid lane for the Snake Hunters. Instead, they'll choose to multi-push lanes, and they have more than enough pressure to do so. 5 members still standing tall as Vaporish continues to make a massive difference in these fights here, Dolson. It has just been too quiet of a set from Okeanos. There needs to be some form of a Hunter response here, but Vaporish is getting to do everything he wants and some.
Yeah, 9,000 damage beneath Vaporish Coast is Okeanos, so that's a pretty noticeable gap, if I do say so myself. Tier 1 and Tier 2 fallen left. Phoenix does as well. And now the gold lead starting to swing on over towards the Snake Hunters. Still 1 minute and 10 seconds left on this push. Silence has got to be careful here. Snake Hunters don't want to be the ones that are overstaying. It's a blink in from Kalas, trying to stop the backs. Vaporish Coast kites on backwards, uses the beads to avoid the taunt. Now Pretty Prime finds the backline with the through space and time. Wolfie looked at by Rapio. Wolfie able to dash away, but Rapio could close the gap, and Kha'Zix will do so instead. This could be the last ditch effort. This could be the last leg that the Accounting Department have, but Ice finds an important kill.
2 members already dead. Collis looking to be next here with his team. As Deathwalker tries to buy him some time, this Ares might just squeeze his way into the fountain.
Oh,
Same
no.
can't be said for Okeanos as he gets sent to Niflheim with no return ticket other than to the fountain of death. Deathwalker and Collis, the last 2 standing members, but they are tanks, Dulcin, and Snake Hunters could honestly look for the end here. Instead, they're going to play it as safe as can be and try to maybe seize this mid Phoenix. No, a full-on disengage, not choosing to utilize the last tidbits of their power play opportunity from this Fire Giant, and it's an interesting call from the Snake Hunters because they probably did have the damage to end there, but that's how much respect they are willing to give Deathwalker on this Terra.
That was a 10,000 XP swing on that FG buff, and I think right around 7,000 to 8,000 gold was the swing that we saw there from the Snake Hunters. It was basically dead even right around the time of that Fire Giant. The Snake Hunters really put this game right on the edge, and it's pushing against the accounting department now. It's a similar question to last time. It's if the accounting department feel comfortable enough now with the XP differential the way it is, the gold differential the way it is. Do you have to go up and contest this FG? I mean, this is a knockout game. If the accounting department lose, they're done. And now it's about deciding. The shot calling has to be on point, Taco. Is it safer to fight under your Phoenix, or is it safer to try to steal away the Fire Giant?
And given that the best Phoenix in the game has already been stripped away by the Snake Hunters, that opposite end fire minion wave pressure is going to be a noticeable bleeding hole here for the accounting department if they look for this objective contest. And wise to send Okeanos to try and split push the difference, maybe control some of those fire minion waves, and hope that the accounting department can hold on long enough for that Chernobog global ultimate to come into play. And that's the thing, Dulcin. The Chernobog has a global ultimate, and we have seen hardly anything from it. Wolfie, on the other hand, will meet his demise. Rapio wasting no time whatsoever to take out that Chiron in a nearly 1v1 situation.
Well, through space and time connects, but does nearly nothing onto Deathwalker. You hope now, if you're Wolfie, that that's not a backbreaking kill here. Likely stalls out any opportunity of stealing away this FG. Okeanos pushing out the left side, so you've pointed out the fact that we haven't seen that ultimate used. Now might be the time if the accounting department feel like they have to fight. So it's a portal on back as Ice blinks away. It's defensive now. Frenzy gets used for accounting department. Try to get it back in the game. If you find Vaporish Coast here, it's massive, but Bryfost is perfect as Ice crashes down from the left-hand side of the map. Then Ice is going to get whittled on away by Rapio. The opening kill of this engagement on over to the Snake Hunters, and Pretty Prime from range finds the damage for the killing spree. Kalas throws up the chains, but it's a wall from Silence to keep him where he's at, and it's bye-bye Ares 24 minutes in.
Snake Hunters could choose to take the T2 tower here for free, or they could look to just try and make another push onto that Fire Giant, but it seems as though Snake Hunters feeling confident in their game pressure. They're just going to try to run it down mid here, Dulcin, and that team fight just too split from the accounting department. Target focus was all over the place. They weren't sure if they should try to commit to diving Vaporish in the back line or looking elsewhere, but that left side Phoenix respawn will rain on the Snake Hunters parade here as Deathwalker now full HP.
Whoa!
But Wolfie with some long downtown snipes onto Pretty Prime. And Snake Hunters, I don't think that they looked at the mini-map, Dulcin, and realized that left side Phoenix was respawning. That was an immediate Fire Giant, free by all rights. And Snake Hunters just a little bit too greedy. And that's kind of been the name of the game here for the Snake Hunters. A lot of greedy overstays and pushes. But when they've been playing as clean as they have throughout the vast majority of these team fights, I almost can't blame them.
Yeah, you know, the Snake Hunters playing with house money, it feels like at this point. 10,000 gold in the lead. It is important. Accounting department have a 20-second advantage of a 5v4. That could be enough to bring some confidence around this FG, but Pretty Prime will have through space and time if he really needs to quickly join this fight. Obviously, that's not ideal, but if you're feeling that way, that could be an option worth looking at. The good news is for accounting department, a couple level 20s. It's both your carries, the other two non-supports at level 19, so XP starting to matter less and less. Gold still important. One full item behind is Deathwalker here. You can sense that the Snake Hunters want to mitigate Okeanos as much as possible. A couple crit items and 3 Spectral Armors is the result over on the Snake Hunters, so Okeanos is going to have to pick his targets well.
Can't say that I'm surprised to see all these Spectrals for both of these squads, given that all the Hunters in this game have opted for some form of crit, aside from Wolfie, since he's playing a little bit more of that utility-based Chiron, just trying to find some big damage off of his abilities. And Fire Giant Pool, clean so far from the accounting department. Snake Hunters taking their time with this one on how they choose to collapse.
The blink forward from Kha'Zix here, but there won't be anything on the back end of it. Ice has found the stun. Watch out for Rapio. Approaching from the right-hand side of this fight. Deathwalker knocked on back. Pretty prime, plenty healthy. Wolfie has to use the Aegis. He'll use the beads as well, and Rapio makes it out of the fray alive. Can you say the same for Ice? No, you can't. Kalas has got the chains, but he's got no pulls. Now the re-engage from the Snake Hunters. Closing the gap as Kalas able to barely make his way out. Rapio won't have the range damage, but Wolfie will to return back one, desperately clinging on to life, but it's a double kill from Kha'Zix, Deathwalker, and Kalas limping away from the engagement, and the Snake Hunters will pick up 3.
A big play, though, from the Snake Hunters there. They just walked it down against the likes of the accounting department. Okeanos and Wolfie got 2 split from that triple tank front line, and with no one to have any sort of follow-up, Kalas, Ice, Deathwalker, they're just open season for the Snake Hunters. And Snake Hunters, in great teamwork fashion, take out these tanks one by one. Deathwalker barely managing to survive. Kalas barely managing to survive, but the damage has been done with 3 people dead. That Fire Giant is completely out of the question to contest.
Yeah, Rapio 10 seconds away. So now the question is, do the Snake Hunters hold on to it for Rapio? The answer seems to be yes. 5 more seconds to have it on all 5 members of your team feels like a pretty good trade. And so Fire Giant goes down 28 minutes in. The Snake Hunters a bit of a stumble in the mid lane as Wolfie able to find the snipes on a pretty prime, but the respawns come in and the fight on the back end consistent enough as well. Kha'Zix goes pretty big in that fight, has gone pretty big in this game. 7, 3, and 10 now on this Sun Wukong. 8, 5, and 11 for Rapio. And then Vaporish Coast has really given a second win to the Snake Hunters team as this game has gone on. Cannot be understated. And so now you got one more big push here, it feels like, from the Snake Hunter. Silence, I think, senses that as well, sells off the starter item, picks up the Emperor's armor, just to make things a little bit easier underneath these Phoenixes.
But if there is one bright side here for the accounting department, Dolson, it's the fact that, at the very least, it's not an enhanced Fire Giant. They do have double Hunters, so the wave clear should be decent between these Hunters. And not only that, but there's also the fact that they got that left side Phoenix to respawn in the first place, and it regenerated as much health as it possibly could. So it's going to take the Snake Hunters a little bit of time to really try and chip away at that Phoenix health, even with it having already been taken once. It's still not as easy to do with everybody from the accounting department having hit level 20 now, aside from Kalas, but he still has the Compassion online, and that'll still play a pretty big part in this base defense.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are items, there are moments that it looks like this accounting department team will be able to lean on. Hero's Axe picked up for Deathwalker as well. So some of that extra shielding might play a role in keeping the carries alive. But look at this Phoenix, absolutely shredded by Vaporish Coast the moment some damage is able to find its way in. Over in the mid lane, you tend to see this. Both junglers battling back and forth. Could be an important engagement there as Rapio has felt like he's gotten the better of Ice throughout the onset of this game. Silence walks in here, throws up the wall. Deathwalker drops the ultimate into the backline as Vaporish Coast disengages through space and time, flies right on by. Okeanos here, up into the air is Rapio, and he'll look for the backline here, and he's got Okeanos, but it's a big taunt to disengage things out slightly. Kalas has got the pull, then he's got 3 in with them. Accounting department stands strong under their left side Phoenix, and now the chase is on.
Vaporish, though, with the Bifrost like we've seen so many times in the past, he'll be able to get out. No problem whatsoever. The same can't be said for Pretty Prom, on the other hand. Ice gonna get cut off. A nice wall from Silence won't stop the chase outright, as Snake Hunters continue to run for the hills here from the accounting department. Ice might be able to be the first to catch up. We'll find Vaporish, and that's going to seal the deal here as Wolfie picks him up at the training exercise. Now Silence still in trouble, but seems as if the accounting department have their eyes on the prize, and that's taking the objectives in response. They've got to start taking out some of this map pressure that's been so heavily in favor for the Snake Hunters. A very great collapse, though, and that's kind of the threat that Triple Guardian front line, we finally get to see it flourish, Dolson.
Yeah, massive pull-in from Kalas there as well, and then the follow-up from the accounting department was second to none there. And that gave the accounting department a second lease at life now in this game. Things effectively dead even. It's only Kalas working his way in onto level 20 here. Map pressure still for Snake Hunters. Tier 1 and Tier 2 down and left for accounting department, but the left side Phoenix is down as well. So the fire minions are going to be pushing in against the accounting department's left-hand side of the map. These are the moments you got to be really, really careful of if you're on either side. The map just seems so fragile. One big fight, one big engagement goes the other way. And the game looking like it's over. Still a minute left until the next FG spawns. And now you really got to feel like, Taco, this accounting department team potentially feeling confident enough and really taking a fight around the fire.
Well, they almost don't have a choice at this point, Dolson, because you can't afford to give up Enhanced Fire Giant for free. The one thing that Snake Hunters have been struggling with into this accounting department squad is sieging those Phoenix and actually surviving the after effects of the accounting department's counter initiations. But with the EFG, wouldn't really take them much time at all to take that final T2 tower on the right hand side and both of the remaining Phoenixes. And once you have that much fire minion pressure, it gets a whole heck of a lot harder for this double ADC comp from the accounting department to successfully clear those waves. You have to remember, without a mage, and Wolfie doing his best to try and supplement for it by putting so much burst damage onto those abilities with his build, but it's still tough for a lone Chiron and this Chernobog to try and make up the difference.
Yeah, it does feel that way. And you have to look at the actives, I think, as well. For the Chiron, for Okeanos, they got both of them ready to go. The Aegis will be up shortly now for Okeanos. All of the beads were down for Snake Hunters in the base of the accounting department just a moment ago. Look at this rotation, though. Accounting department in the mid lane. Snake Hunters drop wards, but one of them on the wrong side. Accounting department might just be looking for the base here. Snake Hunters not starting up the FG. Instead, Snake Hunters will head on back to base. Rapio is stuck around by the FG as Deathwalker and Kalas walk down the mid lane. But now it's the Snake Hunter showing some face, and the accounting department will have to back away. Silence on a bit of a flank here. Could he find the wall? Could he find the freeze? The answer is no. But there is a wall on a Deathwalker. He uses the blink to disengage.
Two really big team fighting assets, though, already taken out. Silence, though, could be in some trouble here. Purification Bead's going to be expended early as the through space and time comes ripping down the mid lane. Now it's actually Snake Hunters looking to turn the tides here. Wolfie under pressure from Rapio. We've seen this one so many times over. Rapio, though, not going to have immediate success. Instead, gets taken out by the no escape into the Chernobog.
And Rapio, the first one to go down, and now it's the Snake Hunters immediately trying to leave. Accounting department have found the opening pick. The actives used perfectly there from Wolfie to stay alive under all of that pressure from Rapio. The Ratatosker was on an incredible KDA earlier on in this game, and now Rapio feels like he's just dunking down into death every single time without anything to say for it. Now it's Enhanced Fire Giant started up by the Snake Hunters accounting department, excuse me. Snake Hunters still close by. Pyromancer gets taken. Fire Giant restarted now by this accounting department team. It's down to half HP. There's some sustain thanks to Deathwalker to keep those health bars nice and topped off. As Kha'Zix closes that gap just a little bit. Kalas throws up the chains. Pretty Prime on the backside of this FG pit as the FG is given up. Pretty Prime has through space and time, will not use it. And the accounting department will back off and will not complete the FG.
But the time is ticking. Accounting department did such a great job looking for a power play moment, and now it seems as though they've just done all the legwork here for the Snake Hunters. Kalas trying to delay, but it doesn't even matter. Accounting department did 75%, Dolson, of that EFG's HP, and then dropped it. There's too much pressure spilling in from the left-hand side because there was one final fire minion wave that would have seized the Phoenix had nobody backed. Wolfie being forced to back, once again, leverages the numbers into Snake Hunter's favor, and it's just so heartbreaking to watch, Dolson, because everything leading up to that EFG pull from accounting department could not have been executed any better. They had Okeano splitting, pushing out the fire minion waves. They took the opportunity to collapse in the mid lane, found some great picks, punished Rapio by finally sitting on top of Wolfie in the back line, making sure that he's well protected, and for it to all fall so short in one instance, and to put Snake Hunters back into such a commanding position now over the map. Snake Hunters get the Oni Fury, and they might get the fight too.
This is a big fight. This one could decide the game if the Snake Hunters were able to win it. Rapio searching for the engage. Wolfie does not have his active, so you gotta watch onto this Chiron here. Rapio doesn't find anyone with the dunk. It's a big grouping, though, from the accounting department. Kha'Zix walks on in, but he's found 4 members of the accounting department on the other side. Deathwalker's been left alone. Kalas with the pull finds another couple. Rapio has to dash away, and he'll do so successfully. Vaporish Ghost continues his tear. Gets the first onto Okeanos as Wolfie stunned through. It's a double from Coast, and it looks like game for Snake Hunters in 36 minutes.
And they don't even have to go for the Phoenix that's already been sieged before, Dulcin. 60 seconds, 40 is the soonest. And there is no time left here for the accounting department. They're going to be sent packing here today, Dulcin. And the Snake Hunters with another execution.
Yeah, man. Taco, you gotta, I think, look back to that enhanced Fire Giant. I mean, accounting department did so well time and time again underneath their Phoenixes, under some towers even, and pushing back Snake Hunters. And then you start up that FG, you do so much of the damage. Is that the moment, in your mind, where this game gets lost?
It just, again, kind of seemed a little bit torn. They're pulling Pyromancer at the same time as pulling this enhanced Fire Giant, Dulcin. It was just too much to handle at once. They needed to make a decision between one or the other because the damage application that they had on the Pyromancer was that last 25% I think that they would have needed for the EFG itself. A bit of a sad finish here for the accounting department. We saw some fight back, but the Snake Hunters just held on.
Snake Hunters came to play. I like your chair there, Taco. Nice Maxonomic.
Thank you. Yes, very, very good. We also have the promo code feature right behind us. Yes, just in case anybody was wondering. You can't get this version. This is an exclusive chair sent only to me. But you can, however, have your own Maxonomic chair.
You can get one of these. You can get one of these. Use code SmiteMax. Get one of the ones that I'm sitting in. Taco's great casting with you. Great looks now for the Snake Hunters, who are able to move on in this tournament. Unfortunately, the accounting department headed on home. That's it for Taco and I, though. We'll take a break, and then the desk will round it out.
Well, it's all great for the green and gold here. They get themselves a win, and they stay alive in this bracket, showcasing exactly why Snake Hunters are the team that always pushes Elysium to the brink. They win this one 2-0. Mifflin a lot closer there in game number 2 than it was in game number 1, but game 2 still kind of results in it. I think there were a lot of times you'd look up, the kills would be equal. 14-14, I think, was the one that stands out to me. 3,000 gold disparity. And then it just continued like that. I mean, throughout the entire game, it was, man, these kills feel equal. The map and the gold does not feel equal. Snake Hunters were always a little bit ahead of Accounting Department.
At the very beginning of the game, it felt like Accounting Department kind of got away with their swaggy picks, right? They got this unorthodox draft that was really working out for them. The Terra in particular was doing incredibly well. And then as the clock ticked onward, as the game went on and on, only one thing became evident to me. Only one of these squads has a Vaporish Coast. Only one of them who was able to just use that ultimate aggressively every single time to artificially manufacture 1v1s and then just win those 1v1s like clockwork. Kha'Zix as well has a fantastic performance. But from here on out, I think the fans at home can expect just more of these Coast clips.
Yeah, I think this is something to be said. Look, Prime, Silenced, Rapio is a 3v3. They're very solid. They have a good core. But I have said this about this team, and I think this game kind of helps cement it. The pillars on the side lanes here are really the things that hold this team up above and beyond, right? You never know what kind of performance you're getting out of everybody else. You know Coast is going to show up. You know Kha'Zix is going to show up. If everyone in the middle shows up as well, it feels like it might as well be a done deal. This is a team that had not had a long, successful run. In fact, they had to play into this bracket from a wild card. Like, they might not have even been here a little bit ago. So a lot of pressure that has been mounting on them. And yet they're still able to do it. They knock out Accounting Department, so if you were a big fan of what was the old rival, they are the first team now eliminated from this bracket here in Europe. And I think you're going to see a lot more of this tomorrow, but we have to figure out who exactly Snake Hunters are going to be able to play. They have a little bit of resting time between now and then. As, again, I mean, actually looking at this, doubling down, first off, 7-2 and 15 is the best slash line in the game, but it's mainly because he's the one that stood up. 8-4 and 13 there for Kha'Zix, the two of them. But the time kind of tells the tale, even, that you get to see everybody was a big part of this game. Wolfie put up 34k damage, almost 35k damage, but it didn't crack the way they wanted to. The fights weren't going the way they wanted to on Accounting Department. We showed the video earlier, so I'm going to steal one of his phrases. The stuff after the stuff. Hey. You win the fight, but you didn't really get the Fury, the Fire Giants, things like that. So Snake Hunters controlled it. But again, Mifflin, that's just I want to say the beginning of their journey still through the lower bracket.
And they are in the lower bracket on the loser's side right now. They got knocked out by Elysium earlier on this week down to the lower bracket. These guys have had a very tough path to where they are right now.
It's not going to get easier.
It's not going to get any easier. Even if they do make it to the finals, they are going to be playing through a one-game disadvantage up against whoever they do get through there. So even though the Snake Hunters are looking incredibly powerful right now, it's still an uphill battle.
Now's the time we get to, well, and a little bit is the time that we get to figure out who their initial opponent will be. Either a rematch against Elysium now, or if they are able to make it to the finals, then maybe we'll see it then. Or their first matchup for this bracket, this playoffs, up against Pandemonium. All of that is going to be decided by, well, you'll never guess it, Elysium going up against Pandemonium. Whoever wins that gets the one-game advantage there in the winners' finals, but also has that comfort, right, of knowing that they're not in the losers' bracket. A lot of fun that will go there. If you lose that set, you end up having to play two more and win two more at that in order to make sure that you get yourselves a victory. So still a lot on the line, and the pressure is on just because things we'll get into for that desk, but Elysium and Pandemonium have been the teams duking it out. I believe the top seeds that have been fighting consistently throughout this entire year. It feels like just a treat that we're still going to be met with that one, Mifflin.
Yeah, I believe this next set is, and I'm so bad with prize pulling, but this next one's a $10,000 set, isn't it? Essentially, that is a lot of money. $10,000 split 5 ways. That's $2,000 per player. That's a nice little chunk of change that these guys are going to be competing over. And don't let that confuse you guys. It is a lot of money that you're competing for, and that weighs heavily on your mind. Maybe makes you play a little bit nervous. Maybe makes you play a little bit trepidatious with some of these players, especially these guys on Elysium who are used to playing for large sums of money. They got a little bit of that Lanimal syndrome. Keep your eyes on them. We might see a different version of these players.
But for now, it's all about Snake Hunters. Spend the next few minutes thinking about how they must be feeling. Happy to still be alive in the tournament. Congrats to them once again on their win. Elysium versus Pandemonium's coming up next.